Call the dogs in because you're listening to the Field Master Podcast. All right, everyone. Welcome back to episode number 6 of the Field Master Podcast, brought to you by Sportsman's Pride Professional Dog Food. This week, I'm joined by Sam.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Sam. How are you?
Hi. Good. Doing good.
I feel like it's been a minute since you've been on.
Yeah. Missed the last one, so back, feeling good.
You were telling us this morning that your allergies are starting to get to you.
Yeah.
Not being from Alabama.
Yeah, the pollen is it's coming back for the vengeance.
It's thick in Alabama.
Yeah.
The pollen is thick here.
Yeah.
It's definitely not Houston.
Yeah, hopefully I get used to it really fast because I'm not a fan.
All right.
A fan at all.
Well, I'm sure that people don't want to hear us talk about your pollen tolerancy. So let's go ahead and get into our guests. So this week we are incredibly excited to be joined by Amy and Bubba Spencer from Region 6 Field Trials, also from Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency.
Yes.
They are both in the agency. Amy is a Region 1 outreach and communications with the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, and Bubba is a wildlife officer. So we got to be on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Talk about all the licenses that we definitely bought and not have any issues running into,
We're a little out of jurisdiction here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're good then.
Unless it involves waterfowl
Okay. We're still good.
or Lacey Act violations.
We're still good. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Glad to be here.
We are super excited. Sportsman's Pride has been sponsoring Region 6 Field Trials for a while now, for a few years at least that I know of. And our main focus has always kind of been on working dogs and things like that. And there's really no better culmination of working dogs when it comes down to it than field trials, because they have there's so much that goes into it with the handler and with the dogs that we wanted to get someone from Region 6 Field Trials on. So we're really excited that you guys are here.
I'm
Well,
glad to be
first
here.
of all, we have to say thank you very much to Sportsman's Pride because the sponsorship has been phenomenal over the last couple of years. Just supporting our club, supporting our regional meeting, and prizes, which is dog food, which is always awesome.
Yeah.
For our participants. It's honestly, we couldn't do it without y'all. I mean, it just makes everything easier and run smoothly. And it's a blessing to have a sponsor like y'all.
Well, thank you guys so much. I mean, we're glad to be part of it. And, I was going to actually attend, Caleb and I, behind the cameras, Caleb, we were going to come to a field trial this year. I think it was one in Mississippi.
At Hell Creek.
At Hell Creek, that's where it was. And it just stormed the entire time. So I told you guys, I was like, I don't think we're going to make it to that one. I think it ended up getting canceled. And
we've had a lot canceled this year due to weather.
Yeah.
And Hell Creek is notorious for very wet, soggy, nasty grounds. And the creek can get up and it can make things difficult. But,
But if we have good weather, that is a place to showcase in all ages.
yeah, because I've heard the facilities there are great.
Nice.
we have a great clubhouse, nice stalls.
That's awesome.
If you have, a lot of us are going to trailers with living quarters.
Right.
You can stay. It's one of our best grounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully next year it won't be so soppy and wet, and we'll make it to that one, because I think at the time it was the closest one to us, and we were trying to fit it in. So
It is.
we'll be there. We'll be there next year. So also, you guys have a son named Colton. You call him Colt, but I'm just saying, Colton's a pretty good name.
Colton's a good name.
Now,
It
do you
is.
guys know why you chose Colton?
It was a combination. We love horses, coats. We love guns, coats.
I'm a
And
45 collector.
Yeah,
that's sort of a old school name.
Yeah,
Colton.
right.
So the combination of all three.
And then his middle name is William, which has been in Bubba's family for
Yeah, a long time.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a better story than what my parents did. They found a baby book and they liked that name.
They liked it. Well, okay.
And you know what? I like your story. That's a pretty good one.
And it was on the name of, good Southern names. So
Good
That's
Southern
true.
names.
That's
we,
true.
We had to have a good Southern name.
See, I would have
Good,
never
strong
thought
Southern
Colton
name.
was Southern.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say it like Colton,
I
it
guess so.
It sounds Southern.
Yeah.
Well, I think more old school.
Yeah.
Old school.
Now, do you guys have the problem? I mean, I'm sure you do because it's the same name. Anytime you go somewhere and like you're trying to get like a little license plate or something with the names, I can never find Colton.
Colton out.
Wait, I should have brought you a keychain.
Yeah.
We
You
have a
sh-
keychain that says Colton on it that he found somewhere and it flashes.
Wow,
If
that's
I
really
see
cool.
you again, we're going to get you a Colton
That sounds
keychain.
good. I found, you know what? This is complete side note of what we're supposed to be talking about, but
Rabbit hole.
yeah, when I was young, the only time I found Colton somewhere was at SeaWorld in Orlando, and it was
really?
just like a little keychain or
And you
something.
remember it, though.
And I remember it. That's the only place I've ever found it
I'm
since.
surprised it's so rare. Like to me, like that's a.
There's so many Coltons.
I've
now.
met so many Coltons in my life.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me because it's my name, but like I just don't meet many Coltons.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyways, great name, great choice. All right, so let's get kind of into your background, talking about field trials and dogs. So, Amy, we'll start with you. Your family always hunted with dogs, correct?
I grew up with lots of dogs. My dad used to grouse hunt a lot with
Okay.
setters when I was growing up, and he kind of got out of it. And then when my sister married her husband, they were into Chesapeakes, and
Okay.
so they
Yeah.
started doing AKC hunt test, and I was the bird girl and carrying all the stuff, and so we started doing that together, and then that proceeded into high school. I having a lab, and college having a lab, and then going into TWRA. They decided to start a canine program when I was an officer. I was an officer for 17 years, but there when I first started, they were like, "We want to do a canine program, and you have dog experience." And so they sent myself and another officer to Kentucky, and we became certified with the 2 first TWRA canines, and then we became instructors. And so then we since started 12 other dogs in our program, but unfortunately that program has since gone away. So.
That's tough.
But it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause-
absolutely. It's cool to be like part of something that, you know, you got to start. And
Yes.
unfortunately, you saw the end of it as well.
Well, change in administration, change in just situations that did away with it. And both instructors, he retired and I promoted at the same time. So it kind of left
gotcha.
that we didn't have an instructor. But started with a lab. We wanted all retrieving breeds. We wanted the hunters to be familiar with our dogs. So when we checked somebody as an officer, they knew the dog was going to be friendly.
Right.
Though my dog wasn't friendly when he didn't want. I mean, he loved me, but you didn't need to raise your voice to me.
Right.
So if
And he
you
would tell
raised
you.
your voice and I raised my voice back, it was on.
It was
He
game
was-
over at that point.
Don't talk to her that way.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that talk. He was like, I'm the only one that talks to
Right.
her that way. But he was a phenomenal dog.
Gotcha.
His name was Jake. Just solid white lab with a pink nose. Very smart. Didn't have to tell him anything. He just knew. We never had. I mean, I really didn't have to give him a command.
Yeah.
After we went through that initial training, and when he retired, he had over 100 cases, and he worked
Wow.
for FBI, TBI, postal, countless agencies around the West Tennessee area.
Right.
I could guarantee. They called me looking for a gun, which he was trained in firearms, wildlife detection, and evidence recovery. So we also did man tracking.
Yeah.
So if you tried to hide anything, I would just like, it's over.
It's
We're
game
gonna find
over.
it. If you
Yeah.
walked and you hit it, we're done because
Right.
he's tracking you, and then he's going to smell the gun.
Yeah.
Or if you hid the game, he's going to smell it. And but I used to say a lot of police departments would call me and they would be like, "Hey, we just want to make sure we don't have a gun at a school or around this area."
Yeah.
I'd clear more areas than anything, and I would say, "If I don't have it in 5 minutes, it's not here." I mean, I guarantee it with
Wow.
this dog. His nose was phenomenal. He retired, and I got a Chesapeake, and she was a totally different. I wanted her for more protective. She
Yeah.
didn't care. She'd be like, "I'm not worried about you. I'm just worried about the treats."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all she cared about. But she was phenomenal at man tracking.
Got it.
She was that tracking dog, just slow and methodical, and never missed a turn. So two totally, completely different dogs, but they were a joy to be with.
That's awesome. Yeah, growing up, I had labs as well. I had a chocolate lab named Boca, who at the time he was going through to be a rescue dog, and so missing people cases and things like that. And he was just so smart, so methodical, and miss him dearly to this day. And my wife and I got our first dog together, you know, the test run before a kid comes and things like that. And so we got a dog named Oreo, who is the little runt pit bull who has so many issues and such a personality and a mouth on her that it's kind of funny when you get one dog and you're like, oh, this dog's so smart. And then you go into the next dog and it's a completely different personality. You have to change how you think about.
Well, you wanted a practice dog to get ready for a baby. So
trust me.
There you go.
Even last night, she was teaching us some things that, you know, she's going back to being crate trained, I think, is what we're getting at.
And that's one advantage of having a lot of dogs.
Oh, yeah.
The more dogs you mess with, the more you understand dogs.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes if you just have 2 or 3, but, you know, we've had hundreds. I mean, I don't even know how many dogs.
I can't count them
Yeah.
anymore.
So
Some stand out in our memories and some don't.
some stand out and some don't. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some make the cut for what we're looking for. But, you know, that's one thing about just if you have a lot of dogs, you really start to understand dogs more than if you just have one pet.
And
Yeah.
as much as we're around dogs and as many dogs as we have been very strict with our son about don't go up and just pet somebody's dog. Because
Yep.
as someone from having a working dog, I didn't want you. You know, if I said you could pet him, the lab, yeah, you could. But there
Right.
would be times where he would retreat and be like, no, I'm not
Yep.
dealing with you today. And, you know, so we've taught him early about look at the dog's behavior. What do you notice? And just don't go up to a strange dog ever.
Right.
For
You
sure.
know?
Yeah, we just got back from South Dakota to talking with one of our ambassadors, and we were talking about, because he's a pheasant hunter, and reading the body language of the dog, especially when they're pheasant hunting. I mean, he would be 50 yards away and be watching his dog, and he'd be like, "Oh, watch, a bird will fly up within 2
birdie.
seconds."
So-
Getting
Getting
birdie.
birdie. Yep,
Getting birdie.
exactly.
And that is something that was so hard to teach to some of our canine handlers. They might have been around
Right.
dogs and had dogs, but we would be like, are you reading the dog? Are you noticing a change in the behavior? And, you know,
Yep.
that was always our key phrase, a change in behavior. And a lot of people didn't see it. You almost had to teach them to read the body language of the dog, just the slightest. And we call it getting birdie.
Yeah.
Also, it's
Yep.
Even when we were working her work dogs, if he was looking for a gun and he started be like getting birdie, even though he's looking for a gun, it's
Yeah.
sort of a
Let's get
term.
birdie.
It's the alert.
It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
alert.
he's working that sit
he's
cone.
working it,
He's
figuring
working
it
that
out.
sit cone.
Yeah. So I'm really curious by this, actually. So you said man tracking, which obviously is kind of self-explanatory. But gun tracking, are they looking for the scent on the gun?
So we're looking for the powder.
Okay.
Gunpowder.
Yep.
We're also looking for the oils. We trained them on Rimmel and WD-40 because a lot of old school
Oh,
people
yeah.
would just use WD-40
Yep.
and not use like Rimmel. So we trained on a couple of different oils, and then we trained on, of course, gunpowder.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite drills with that dog is Anguilla makes some 22s, which are very low powder, hardly any
Right.
powder in them. When I would take them, glove up, drop them in a field, we'd leave, be gone for hours, and come
Yep.
back, and I would turn him out and let him find those. And if he could find 2 Aguila 22s with low powder, then we're on to something.
Yeah.
So, and I will tell you, one of his best cases was a gun used in a homicide for a local police department. And we found the gun 14 days after the homicide and after 4.8 inches of ring.
Wow, isn't that
Wow.
incredible?
So his nose was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's
and
insane.
we had used him before in a shooting. The trooper had returned fire at someone that shot him on the side of the interstate, shot at him. And the troopers were desperately wanting to find all the shell casings because there was a malfunction with that firearm that night. So
Okay.
they wanted to see what was going on. And the boss called and was like, hey, I need you to go. And it was really late at night. I'm like, what? It's like 11
Right.
o'clock. And he's like, I need you on the interstate now. Take your dog. And I showed up and I'm like, what do you got? And they're like, well, we have so many rounds. We need 4. I got him out. Bam, 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 bam. They're like, well,
Wow.
we've had metal detectors and we've had drug dogs. And I'm like, they're not trained on what this dog's trained on. See you tomorrow at the debrief.
Yeah.
And I was gone. 'Cause I'm
Wow.
going back home. Go
Yeah.
ahead. But he
Right.
was that dog.
Yeah.
He was that dog. But now, like I said, 2 different personalities. Dixie was a little, her gun was okay. She was not exceptional at guns, but she was exceptional at tracking. And in our program, we had others that were like that. This one's exceptional at tracking, and this one's exceptional at guns. So
That's
you would see
incredible.
what they liked better. But
Well,
of course,
even Dixie at a very young age would just naturally
Track you.
put her nose to the ground and track. And so she had a natural way about her at an early age as a puppy on tracking.
You would see her. You ever see one that just puts
Yeah.
their nose down and smells?
Oh, yeah.
There's your
That's-
tracker
oh,
right
yeah.
there.
There's your
naturally.
tracker.
Yeah,
She
that's
just naturally do it.
incredible.
And Bubba and I love to go. We train with different people. I've trained with bite dogs. I've trained with drug dogs. I've trained with all these. We love to do that type of training because everywhere we go, we pick up a little bit different. I like how you did that.
Yeah.
Or I don't like how you did that.
Yeah.
But we see things and we learn from all these other trainers
Yeah.
and we incorporate it into our.
Yeah, it molds your own training,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we went to the national field trial here, last month, and what I really noticed from that event is just kind of like the collaboration. It's not necessarily, I mean, it is a competition, obviously, but you get to pick up what each other's what other people are doing, and it's so cool, like that collaborative kind of. You're all working to win, but it's a really neat kind of environment. Okay, so Bubba, let's talk about you now, because I think it's really interesting. You both have dogs all the way grown up, and then you come together
Yeah.
and you still have dogs.
Yeah.
Lots of dogs.
Yeah.
And horses.
And horses, yeah.
When I was young, my dad always took myself and my cousin to bird dog field trials from a very young age, and so I just grew up field trialing. And there was a local trainer named Weldon Bennett, who's still training to this day, that we used to go over and train bird dogs with, and so it just sort of worked that I was in that game. And then when I got stationed as a wildlife officer, it was in the county where they had the national championship. And then so later in life, when the opportunity came to get dogs and horses, and I got it, and we slowly started getting into the sport ourselves.
So he grew up on riding horses at the field trials, and I grew up showing horses. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So do you guys ever remember kind of like crossing paths at all?
no, we
No.
never crossed paths. No.
To work.
He's older than I am. Can't you tell? Yeah. We met at work.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things I wanted to ask you, Bubba, is we have another ambassador out of Arkansas who he trains dogs, and they do the hunt and retrieve test. They don't do field trials. But one of the things that you kind of hit on was, going and working with another person to do training or to
Yes.
learn from. One of the things that he did was he actually went for, Sam, I don't know, can you remember? I think it was like 3 months or something like that. He went down to Texas and he apprenticed with
Yeah.
another trainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very common. Yeah.
Okay. So did you kind of do the same?
Yeah, we did the
situation?
same thing with a professional trainer named Ray Warren.
Okay.
We did it in the prairies of North Dakota. Did it? I don't know how many years we went with Ray.
Several years.
Several
the first
years.
year we went, we didn't even have a dog.
Yeah,
We
and
just
so-
went and
To
stayed
watch.
at camp with him and
Yeah.
helped out. That's the main part of going to camp. Help.
Right. Help. Yeah.
Help.
Yeah,
Clean
yeah.
up,
A lot of work.
A lot
Yep.
of work.
Yep.
And he invited us back, and we went
I don't know how many years
I'm going to say probably 5, 6, 8.
with Ray.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It kind of, I think it's like you see it kind of in trades and stuff like that, like welders
Yes.
or electricians
Yes.
or things like that. But no one thinks of it as, I don't want to call this a hobby, but, no one thinks of it as like honing in a skill to, be a trainer or anything like that.
So we go back to things with Ray all the
Yeah,
time that
yeah.
we talk about that we
Yeah.
learned at his camp. Number one was patience on breaking a dog. The dog will tell you when it's ready.
Yep.
And we saw that because we would go and stay at that time 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks with him.
Wow.
And so we got to see the progression that with him breaking a dog. And many dogs right there in a 2-week span would go from not standing to he's got it broke.
Yeah.
And the other thing is always run a young dog with a broke dog.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're at a trial and it happens all the time, another dog breaks, your dog's used to standing. Run in
Yeah.
with the puppy and let that puppy run all around it and jump on the dog or whatever.
Well, at a certain
Yeah.
point we do that.
Yeah.
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 So going back to learning all that, you have to learn it, you have to know it, but you also have to have a work ethic. If you're a good dog trainer, I don't care what discipline of dog, you're probably a workaholic.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
usually in field trials, those who win the most usually work the most.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed through all the people that we've gone through. It's
Absolutely.
a
It's
7-day a week,
It's usually
every day, all
whatever
day.
laps, Brittany's, Weimaraners, Pointers, it doesn't make any difference. Those who are the best are usually the most knowledgeable, are usually the most diligent on their work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because, we have ambassadors on kind of all spectrums. We have field trials, we have obedience training, we have AKC hunt and retrieve tests. We kind of have all spectrums. And every time without fail, when we go, we usually tell them, hey, we need like a week of your time because we need to be able to, we're recording a commercial, we're doing, XYZ. And they go, all right, yeah, I should have time. But what they're saying is
You're going with them.
you're going with them.
Yeah.
You're
And
bird boy. You're good equipment.
They may have time for about 15 minutes in
Yeah.
between getting a dog is what they're truly saying. And so you're absolutely right. I mean, in order to properly understand your dogs and work with them, it's constant 24/7.
Especially on people that have a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, you never get caught up.
Yep.
You're never caught up.
I mean, so like our season is coming to a wind down, and it's the last push because you're trying to chase some more points,
Right.
So you're trying to get a little bit more. But we got puppies coming at the end of the month, so we're getting ready for the puppies.
Yeah.
Working young dogs for
He's
next year.
working
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's already in the process for next year and the year after.
Year after.
already in
Already.
the works.
In the
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. It's there's a famous commercial. I think it's Emmett Smith or something like that. This is when he was with the Cowboys and right after they won a Super Bowl. And it's a commercial where he's like, I just won. I'm on top of the world. I can rest now. And then he does 3 bench presses of, like 500 pounds or something like that. And it's that same mentality of, you constantly have to be working. Speaking of points, though, I want to touch on the next point. So in 2009, 2010, you were given a pointer named Ellie. And Ellie, as far as I understand it, this is a special dog.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was given a female pointer from Illinois, from Sean Derrick.
So she had to have a southern
So
name.
we named her a southern name. So we named her Ellie Mae to
Right.
try to overdo the Yankiness of her breeding.
Yeah, Ellie was a special dog. Ellie was our first dog for like this competition.
Right.
She was family. She was in the house. She slept in the bed.
Yeah, we ended up running the Purina Dog of the Year with her, and she was just one of those dogs that she was consistently the same dog almost day in, day out. So she would consistently do the same thing, so there was no surprises. We even go back to a field at Ames Plantation. I think we ran her 3 or 4 times where she
On
had
that course.
on that course, and she did the field the exact same way
Every
single time. And so she was a consistent dog, and she didn't make mental mistakes.
She also, and this is hard to say in the dog world, she took advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's some people are going to be like, "What do you mean by that?" I can't really explain it, but when a break went her way, she made the best of it.
Yeah, she had the wherewithal to understand.
She didn't mess up stuff
No.
if the opportunity.
Mental stability was
mental
the
stability.
Yeah.
and she was a very pretty dog.
Best. Like you could get her out at a rest stop to go to the bathroom, and they'd be like, "Oh, she's so pretty."
And the people that
Wow.
don't
Didn't
even
know her.
don't
Yeah.
even know English pointers, she had a style about her that was
Small-
always just exceptional on point.
Small dog,
Small
35 pounds, fighting
Yeah.
weight. I'll call it. And she, Ellie was just. We didn't break Ellie. Ellie broke herself.
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah.
she was that dog. When she was broke, she was broke. A bird could have landed on her head.
Well, yeah,
She was broke.
once she decided to stop chasing, and we were getting ready to sort of start the process of
She just.
we call it sort of breaking them, and we were still letting her chase a little bit, and then she just boom, almost to start stopping on her own. And
Now, is that something? So in that process, is that something that you have to have the experience of working with dogs in order to understand when that break
Yes.
happens, or
Yes.
is it kind of like a night and day? You can see.
Well,
it?
sometimes the break doesn't happen, and you're still on an
Yeah.
older dog. You're still. Whoa,
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I'm watching you.
Yeah.
The wheels are unwinding. I can see it.
Yeah.
It's just. But
some dogs have a more natural ability to point, and some dogs have a more natural ability to chase.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want the desire to find the game, but we want the desire to stop. And so a lot of times you're going to have to to bring them to that whoa.
Right.
Yeah. We call it a roll and stop.
Okay.
And
A
so-
roll and stop. You wanted to stop. You know, that's Rick Smith terminology.
Yeah.
You know, which is if you've never been to a Rick Smith seminar or a Ronnie Smith seminar,
Yeah.
excellent for any breed of dog. You should go.
And so
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
And so what she's saying is, like, if a dog is pointing birds, and a lot of times we do this up north, and we let them chase for a while, and then after a while we might let them chase and then start trying to
Slow them down.
slow them
stop
down,
'em.
stop them, and then just start backing that stop up to the point.
Got
And,
it.
and then we want them to understand that whoa
With our hands.
with our hands.
With
Yeah.
a bird or without a bird. If we've got that hand
Whoa.
up,
Yeah.
stop.
And so we want to sort of teach them that outside of birds.
And it needs
Right.
to be just the hand without the
Without the
words.
sound, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either way. So over time, I can say whoa, and the dog needs to stop, or I can do that, and the dog needs
Or
to stop.
if my horse is stopped, you need to stop.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow, okay.
it's one of the few things that, horses understand that, people understand that, irregardless of what language you do. If you're walking towards me and I do that,
You know
this.
what it
You
means.
know,
Yeah.
stop. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that, we teach. One of the few things, commands that we teach a horse and a dog, both the same, is just that, whoa.
But
That's
now,
awesome.
on Ellie, it was a short window with her.
Yeah.
We had I was running Ellie there. Bubba ran her
Well,
as
about
a
3
derby,
years.
and then
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, and then I started running her, and we hit it at Ames. We won the Ames Amateur. I did with her. Was it 48 dog stake?
Yes.
48 dog stake, and that's when it started. It hit. That's when it came together, and she was there, and that was the Ames.
You're
Amateur.
saying throughout her whole career, or
No,
was this like a
she
yearly
had
thing?
several placements.
But she was at the top of her game for about a 2.5,
yeah.
2.5, 3 year period
Window.
there.
Awesome. Yeah.
Which is a lot of dogs. There's
Right.
usually a window of opportunity, and it's usually short
And she,
on most
Yeah.
dogs.
yeah, she peaked about that about four is
Yeah,
when
4 and
I
5.
won the Ames Amateur with her, and it was a 48 dog stake. And from that point on, if Ellie was finding birds, you couldn't beat her. I mean,
Right.
that's a quote that several people will tell you. If she was finding birds, you couldn't beat her.
Yeah.
One thing about Ellie, her nose wasn't the best.
She wasn't the
She-
best
she
on,
really
on
did
Bird
not.
Finder, but the one thing where she did do the best, if we consistently knew there were birds at certain locations, I could almost, I or Amy, either one, we could put Ellie where we wanted her. And I don't mean like near us. She could be 400, 500, 600 yards.
Yeah.
And I used to ride a big yellow horse. I could turn the horse. I wear a big cowboy hat. And man, I could holler, and she would see me. I could just place
You
her,
could thread her through a
Thread-
gate at 800 yards.
thread her
Wow.
anywhere at a distance. And we call that being biddable. And she was just so biddable. And she could just, and you would trust her. You could,
Yes.
and if she did point, they were there.
They were
And
there.
she was broke.
And she pointed more woodcocks than any
Yeah.
dog we've ever had. I
Wow.
won trials on woodcocks, just on woodcock finds.
So
That's
her.
incredible.
Yeah, and I go back to this one time. We were running a trial, and we were waiting for a lost dog, and we're all sitting there, and it was in the spring, about this time of year, and I happened to look down, and I'm like, Bubba, come here. He's like, what? Because we had the same course the next day.
Yeah.
And there was a woodcock on a nest. I'm
Wow.
like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
So the next day, I set her up, put her on that line.
Yep.
had a what
Point.
kind
Yep.
But
Point.
there's little things like that with being a good woodsmanship
Yes.
that can
Right.
help you or make you in field trials. We have some people in field trials that have a sense of direction, where they are, where the birds are, and we have some people that don't. And man, if you don't know woodsmanship, or you don't understand dogs,
Then
or
you-
where you are, it makes it somebody's going to beat you.
It's a hindrance
Yeah.
because you need
Yes.
to know, no, I want to go back to Ellie on something, but when you're running a dog, I'm not thinking about the field I'm in. I'm actually thinking about 2 fields ahead and where
Right.
that dog needs to be. Which way's the wind going? Where were we finding birds? Where were they having unproductives? I mean, there's so many things that run through your head that you need to be prepared for. And if you don't know where you are, you can't make that adjustment. And the same thing as a scout, because Bubba and I both handle Bubba and I both scout. You got to be able to know, if this goes wrong here, where can I get that dog back to him? And
Right.
everything's got to flow in together.
Yeah.
But going back to Ellie, I ran her and got her qualified for the Invitational, which was a big deal because that is the top 12 dogs in the country.
Yep.
And surprise, life hits. I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And I remember I called the AFTCA secretary. And I was crying, and I'm like, I'll be 6 months pregnant. What am I going to do? And she's like, Bubba can run the dog.
Right.
And I was like, I was all upset. So Bubba ran her. Bubba won. Bubba had a heck of a year with her. And my Derby that I had, that was my dog in particular.
Right.
That year, I mean, he was my baby. Like,
Yeah.
he came 13 hours later. He was out of Ellie.
Right.
13 hours later, I birthed him. I had to tube feed him. I had him in the house. He had 10 firsts that year. Bubba had an outstanding year, and I'm on the sidelines pregnant. And he goes on to win Purina Dog of the Year. And what did you say in your winning speech?
I'll thank myself for getting her pregnant.
I'm sure that got a big
Oh,
wow.
It did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was you think it's hard to be out there. It's even harder when you're on the road crew and you're watching your dog.
Yeah.
I bet.
And
yeah.
you know, but there was also some things that I knew about our dog, and Bubba was running her in one of the championships, and I said, she's going to cut on a road, and she's going to go off, and she could get somewhere. And so I went and I sat there. Nobody was around. I just kind of sat there on the, blocking her from a highway. I just knew her. I just knew her.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and I heard Bubba hollering, and he was, looking for her, and I heard her coming running, and I was like, whoa. And she looked at me like, where did you come from? I said, I know you. So I waited, and he come down through there, and I was like, all right. She went back, and I was like, man, you could have got out on a major highway and got ran over.
Yeah.
So just little, but we knew her. But anyway, Ellie.
But, we're going back to knowing your dog and understanding the game. We had another dog named Ava that she was at a championship. She had 5 or 6 fines.
Yes.
And so sometimes you don't want them on birds.
Right.
And she was the type of dog, like we could put her on the edge and she wouldn't come off of it. But you could put her 20 yards off the edge and she would stay 20 yards. So there's a couple times you might need to do that.
I was keeping her off birds.
Keeping her
Right.
off birds because there's nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Yeah, I think she
Right.
had like
So sometimes you
7
have to-
fines and so many backs there on that championship. And I was literally, I told him on that one, I was like, no more. We can't have any more birds.
And
Right.
so sometimes you got to play a little defense in the game of field
Yeah.
trialing.
So the defense was, I knew going into a field, and we call setting it up. I would whoa her and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other dog's going, that's fine. You go run that line. You're looking for birds. I'm not. Put her on that side. And she was the same way as Ellie. She wouldn't come off the line.
Yeah, and we saw dogs at the national championship lose it on a fine in the last 15 minutes.
Yes.
That they did not have to have, and they messed up the bird work, which they would have won it if they hadn't messed up the bird work at the very end.
So Bubba and I are all about putting the nail in the coffin, but you also got to be careful. We were running at a trial not too long ago, or just this past weekend, and as I'm handing, we're watering the dog, I'm like, you got to have one more.
Yeah.
You got to have one more.
Yeah.
We got to have one more, just to put the nail in the coffin.
And we went through a spot, and that dog is a very biddable dog also, and I wanted him on the right side, and we had about 5 minutes left. And, man, just easily put him on the right side and went over there. He had his 3rd fine, and we ended up winning the trial. So having a biddable dog, knowing where you are at all times.
So this is something that, we just went to the national field trial. I'm sure you guys know Alan Vincent.
Yes.
We know Alan well.
Yeah. So Alan, I was talking with Alan about this because we got there. I think he ran, because of the weather delay and stuff.
Yes.
Which turns out they could have ran, but that's a whole nother story. He had the weather delay, and so I was kind of talking with him because when we got there, two people had just came in, and I think the dogs found like 8 birds or something like that. And it wasn't until after they announced the winner and stuff, the winner only found 4
Yeah, it's not
birds.
about who finds the most birds.
See, I was completely misunderstood in that. I thought that
There's
it was
so much
whoever
more.
finds the most birds.
Yeah.
Well, and first of all,
Not in those trials.
Yeah.
There is an advantage to finding more birds, but there's
Okay.
a whole lot more to it than just finding birds.
it was how's the race of the dog? How strong was the dog? How was the dog's finish? How did the dog look
How
at
was
bird
the
work?
quality of the finds?
Yes.
I mean, were they
Right.
right in front of the judge,
Or
or
were
were
they
they
a
way
limb
out
find?
there? Limb finds, good quality finds. Did the handler put them in there, or did we ride up and find the dog on point that
Yeah.
it did it on its own? There's a whole lot of
factors that go into it. It's not like a
One,
hunt
two,
test where
three,
you
four.
have the standard
Right.
and the dog has to meet this criteria. No, there's a lot more to it. And Bubba and I are big on this. We just judged a trial not too long ago, and we're big about grading. It's going to be, how was the quality of the fine? A+, A-. We'll grade it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, and it did in this particular trial, it came down to, well, that fine was an A+. The ground race was, maybe an A-, because all 3 dogs had an A ground race.
Right.
I mean, and we had to go to their quality of fines, and the winner was that dog that was way to the front, and we found him on a fine that nobody else had had.
It's just a good quality fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So that until you understand the whole little nuances of the game, most people don't even understand exactly what's going on a lot.
Yeah.
And talking about the national, Bubba used to ride security, and then for years, and then when I came in, we both rode security, so we were there just about for every brace of the trial.
Yeah.
And then we got out of it a couple years ago because we were heavily field trialing, so it interfered.
Yeah.
So, but and the dog he was talking about that the other day, he goes back to he's a grandson of our 2 best females, Ellie and the Ava dog, which are both Ellie was a Purina Dog of the Year, but she was also I had her as a Region 6 All Age Dog of the Year, and Ava was the Region 6 Shooting Dog of the Year. So he goes back to that particular breeding.
That's awesome.
And that's our breeding. Those are our girls, and and there's a lot to be said in that bloodline, and I'm very big on the maternal side of the bloodline.
Right. Yeah, we have another ambassador in Wisconsin, Lauren, who she runs hounds. She's a bear hunter up in Wisconsin, and she runs hounds. And she's younger in her career and stuff like that. And we asked her when we were there. We said, what's your ultimate goal? Like, what's your dream? What do you want to accomplish one day? And she said, I want to have my bloodlines of my dogs become known, kind of like that. And I think it's so interesting because a lot of times in different aspects of careers and things like that, they're like, I want to be the top dog. I want to be XYZ. And I think it's so interesting being in this field where people are like, I want my dogs. It's about the dogs. I want my dogs to I want to be able to say, oh, that dog that just won Dog of the Year or the National Field Trial or whatever came from my bloodline that I started, way back when.
Yeah. Can I jump in here when you was talking about the hounds?
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of the hunting dogs that are on the landscape, whether it's a rabbit dog, a hound dog, a bear dog, we're what we call independent hunters. You turn them loose, and they go independent of where you are.
Oh, yeah.
And bird dogs are dependent hunters, where they go with us. It's almost thinking of it as a pack, and you're the pack leader.
Right.
Okay. And you're determining where we're going. Yeah. And that dog has to go with us to the front. And that's hard with a lot of the male dogs as they get older and more independent. As sort of like kids, they get a little more sassy and want to do their own thing.
They're like, we know what to do.
Yeah, we know what to do, and we want to go this way, and the course goes that way. Yeah. So,
and we were having this discussion on the way down here that the dog that he's running now, he needs a little bit more independence. But he also, there's a fine line.
Yeah,
there's that fine line.
We were talking about that fine line.
Yeah. When we went up and saw Lauren, she's got the Garmin collars and stuff that they run with, and we couldn't hear any dog. And I'm like, oh, where are they? And she's like, oh, they're about 2 miles that way. And I'm like, that would cause me so much anxiety, not knowing where, my dog is. Also, my dog is spoiled rotten, and there's no way that she would ever go 2 miles away from me.
Well, I will also say, Ellie, as a Purina Dog of the Year, was spoiled rotten. She was a house dog. She half the time didn't even ride in the dog wagon. She rode in the dog truck with people. I have a picture of her at one of the field trials. There's the dog wagon driver. There's Colt in the middle, and there's Ellie on the other side.
That's so
funny. And they're in the
funny.
front seat of the truck. And Ava, Dog of the Year, it sleeps with my son every night. She's a house dog. Yeah. She's spoiled. She's the precious child.
I don't know if I don't like using the word spoiled. She wasn't spoiled. Not around me anyway.
See, our dog Oreo, we got a new bed when we bought our house and stuff, and it's one of those sleep number beds and stuff. And I joke that Oreo has a better sleep number than I do because she takes up the entire bed.
Yep.
Well, this is great. I really want to get into more about Region 6 field trials specific and things like that. But before we do, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break.
What happens after you win? Do you ease up? Slow down. Take some time to polish your trophies till they shine.
Kidding me? No.
When it comes to staying at the top of your game, few know better than champion trainer and handler Alan Vincent. When others are on vacation, Alan's working toward his next win, developing promising young pups into field trial and hunting dog champions. Alan trusts Sportsman's Pride to fuel his pack and carry on the winning tradition. Maybe it's the Omega Pride skin and coat system in every bag. Maybe it's the perfect balance of protein and fat for drive and stamina. Whatever it is, we know one thing for certain.
Hey, look.
Sportsman's Pride's been fueling champions like Alan Vincent for over 60 years, and we'll continue that tradition for the next 60 years. Sportsman's Pride Fieldmaster limited ingredient dog food, available now.
All right, we're back with Amy and Bubba Spencer from Region 6 Field Trials. So, we kind of talked in the first segment about all about your guys' past and everything like that. But I want to take this next segment really to kind of talk about Region 6 Field Trials specifically. And then also, how can someone, get into field trialing? Because, from what I've noticed is there's not a lot of younger generations coming into field trialing. And so, we want to use this as an opportunity to, how can you get into it? What does it look like? So let's start with the background of Region 6. So the Amateur Field Trial Clubs of America, organized in 1948, and then it divided into 19 regions. Mm-hmm. And so Region 6, correct me if I'm wrong, it's made up of Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Mm-hmm. With over 45 field trial clubs. So how do you find out, like, where do you find a club?
So I will say this. Region 6, we started this a couple years ago, a web page. And then when I took the secretary position, we did a Facebook page.
Yep.
Well, I wasn't the official secretary. I was the behind the scenes of the real secretary.
Right.
But Region 6 has a Facebook page and they have a web page. And we keep a schedule on there. Mm-hmm. We have a calendar. We have all the points totals. We have everything you could possibly want to know. We have the results there. And it's really easy to look at those calendars and just so you can plan ahead. But every year it starts in May. At the end of the year, we do the awards, the dinner, and we have our meeting. So Region 6 actually has the Mid-South in it. We have, there's kind of another satellite at the Percy Priest.
Yeah, Southern.
The Southern
Circuit.
Circuit. We don't really do the awards at that one, but it's kind of into Region 6. And then we just have that meeting, and we sit there with calendars. The old paper, everybody gets, calendars, and we just pencil it in.
Yep.
And we put down all the amateur trials. We work around the open trials because so many of the amateur clubs are also hosting those open national qualifiers.
Right. And so that's one of the things. There's different levels. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got your amateur, right? Is that kind of the beginner level, or is it more the open?
Well, it's almost two different divisions.
Okay.
I mean, amateur is usually just people that have another job or retired people that do amateur. Open is more the professional handlers that are running somebody else's dog.
And then so within that am I correct in understanding that like the open will have a qualifying, and so that's how you can qualify to go up to the next levels, right?
Yes, like to get to the national.
Right.
But now an amateur can run in an open, but a pro can't run in an amateur.
Yeah, right.
That makes sense.
Right.
And when the amateur trials usually, or a weekend trial, usually, we do have one that is a week-long trial. That's the Ames Amateur, and it does run the whole week.
Right.
But they're shooting dog derby and all age. So you'll have 3 in one weekend.
Three different stakes.
Yep.
Right.
And you have some people that we run all 3,
Mm-hmm.
and you have some people that just run the all age. You have some that just run the shooting dog.
Got it. Okay. So there's different, I mean, I know when I first started, talking to you guys, there's one, I think almost every weekend if not every week throughout the season.
So we start usually the last weekend in October, and we run just about every weekend to the last weekend in March.
Just about.
Oh,
Wow. Got it.
There are a few weekends off, and they're welcome breaks, especially when you're this into the. But of course, we also have weather delays. But
Yeah.
here's where we ran into a problem. Our schedule in Region 6 is so tight that we had to cancel our first one because of rain. There was an opening that came up to do another trial, decided to not have theirs.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to move it because it conflicted with the national.
Yep.
So we were like, we'll jump in there. Well, rain got us too
Yeah.
on that one too. So we actually
Yeah.
missed hosting our amateur trial twice, and we missed our open because of rain.
Yeah, that's kind of the downfall of living in the,
Yes.
Mid-South.
Mid
is-
South in the mud and the weather this time of year.
I told Sam, because we've said it before that she just moved here from Houston not too long ago, that Alabama is unique in that you can have a tornado watch
Yes.
one day, and then the next morning you could have a chance of snow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that happened
Yep.
this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. The weather here is just absolutely wild.
It is crazy. I've heard my first tornado sirens. That was interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not the best. I opened the window blinds even more. I'm like, I just want to watch the sky. Probably not the smartest idea, but
Yeah. Yeah, we were in South Dakota, and all of a sudden, all of our phones started going off because we had our weather still, back here.
Yep.
And it was just sirens
like
all
2
day
days
long.
straight. Just
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about kind of, I obviously am not a field trialer. I have no experience
Right.
with it. I have a spoiled rotten dog at home. But if I wanted to look into getting a field trial dog and start, what would be your recommendation on getting into the sport and getting into field trialing?
Well, right off the get-go, you need to get a dog. At some point, you just have to get a pointing dog.
Right.
And, the odds of it being a great dog may or may not happen, but you have to get a dog, and then you're just going to have to start somewhere.
Right.
And then, man, in today's world, you can learn all kind of stuff online, YouTube,
Oh, yeah.
read the old books. But if you could ever get with someone that trains bird dogs or trains field trial dogs, that would probably be
And I would
the most
highly
beneficial.
recommend a Rick Smith seminar
Oh, yeah.
if you're
That's a
early
good-
into it, because they go through so much.
Well,
of
I guess
the
it's
early,
Ronnie now.
Yeah,
doing
it's
them all.
Ronnie. Yeah,
Smith.
Ronnie does them, and he does travel the country with them. So you could go to their website or their Facebook page and find it. But there is so much vital information: learning to read the dog, just learning how to style the dog up, learning behaviors that a lot of people don't think is actually a dominant, like that dog putting his foot on your foot. No,
Yeah.
that's actually he's actually being dominant.
dominant
Yeah.
a little
It's
bit.
actually being dominant.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's so much you can learn, and that goes into you doing the dog yourself.
Once again, you need to be the pack leader. The dog doesn't need to be the pack leader, because if he is, then you get to a field trial, he's going to do his thing, and then you're not
Right.
going to win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we kind of talked about it in the first segment or the first half of the podcast, where, if you have the opportunity probably to go apprentice under someone
Yes.
or
Yes.
learn, you're gonna.
You're not going to beat that kind of. That's the best
And just
way.
Yeah.
and everybody I know would be like, "Come on, let's
Most
go."
people-
and
most-
if we have horses,
Yep.
if you don't have a horse, we've got a horse, but you're going to have to be able to ride.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the thing. Now,
Yeah.
this is the limiting factor.
Yes.
Unless you're doing walking trials, that is the limiting factor to our sport. You have to be comfortable on a horse, and you have to be able to ride a horse.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to get into the sport, you have to be able to have a barn and horses.
Yep.
Just you're going to have a trailer. You're going to have a truck. There's just a lot of stuff that goes along with.
But you could
getting on the sport.
also, you could go, and this has happened. A guy not have a dog, but he doesn't have a horse, but he's buddies with someone, and meet me at the field trial, or maybe when we go work dogs, and I'll bring your horse, and that's that entry level into it.
Yeah, because one of the things we were talking about knowing Alan and things like that. Alan said he was lucky when he first started because he had a horse and he had a trailer.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
it's so funny that
Yes.
the lucking out being able to get into a sport is owning a horse and a trailer
Yes.
and things like that. But I will say, from the people that I've met in the community and field trial and things like that, everyone's so welcoming and it's so accommodating.
Most people will let you come train with them or give you
Yeah.
a horse. If you do your part and work, And that's one thing that I think we leave out a lot sometimes when it comes to field trials is just the work that's involved. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
It's almost like, so our son is starting to play baseball, and it's doing the drills in the backyard. It's the same thing with the dogs. Are you doing your yard work? It might be 5 minutes putting it on the barrel or stroking it up or working on whoa or just working here, come here to me.
Directional changes, walking puppies. It's never ending.
It's never ending, and it's 5 or 10 minutes a night, or it's, however long you want to make it or how many dogs you have. But those are the little things that start. And, I go back to a big obedience background. Man, if you don't have control of the dog, you can't go turn it loose somewhere and expect to run it.
Everybody wants to go to North Dakota and turn their dog loose in the prairie. But
And
there's a
want it to run
whole
outside
lot
country.
we do before we ever
get to-
turn the dog loose on the prairie in North
So
Dakota.
there's months of preparation.
That you can do in your backyard, regardless of where your backyard is almost.
And so now we as amateurs only get to spend 2 to 3 weeks in North Dakota. Bubba gets to spend longer, school and something about truancy. I have to get back with my child. But Colt and I go and we stay a week and then we have to fly back. But there's, if you have your yard work done and you get to North Dakota 2 to 3 weeks, you can have your dog broke and you can accomplish what you need to get done.
We learned that from Cecil Rester.
And we learned that from another
so
amateur
many times,
in our region, Cecil Rester.
So many times in what we've said is probably us figuring out something that somebody else has taught us, and we're sort of saying it like we learned it, but it's our knowledge, but it was probably gained from somebody else.
And for an example, when we first get to North Dakota, you get the first day, you can run and knock and chase and have fun.
It's all of a mulligan day.
It's just let's everybody get out.
Stretch your legs.
Yeah, turn them loose. And
Turn them loose.
And
let
then
them get out.
the next day, all
Next
right.
day, then all right.
And one
let's
thing,
get a little more regiment here.
And one thing when you're doing it yourself, you are moving at the pace of that dog. So if you need to back up, like you might take 2 steps forward, you might take 3 back. You're going to have to back up and get that dog, fix that problem, and then move on. And that's a little easier to do when you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Not knocking the pros, but when you send it with the pro, you're on their schedule up north. You've only got a certain window of opportunity. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing your yard work at home, and even if you are sending it with the pro and you got that yard work done, that's a lot that they don't have to deal with once they get there.
Yeah. And, that's one of the things all the ambassadors that we've talked to and all the trainers and stuff, we ask them, how does someone get started? And they're like, well, before they even come to me, they need to have obedience done.
Yeah.
And, we do have some people who focus on obedience, but, without fail, every time that we talk to someone, they need to be obedient. They need to know their training.
They want their dog to go with them. They want them to stop when they whoa, and then we can start.
Then you can start adding
to the next level
too.
to see how
but
high level we can get to.
If you're starting out, there's a couple Facebook pages. They do advertise future litters or litters that are coming, and those are great places to go look for litters if you want to start with that puppy. If you want to be there as soon in 6 weeks, if you want it, that's where to get it. And then there's also, if you're not, like sometimes we might sell a dog that's not running on the all age circuit back before we started running shooting dog. We might sell one, and that might be someone. It's a young dog, and we know this dog's not going to run enough for us. But you're in shooting dog or you're in walking, you might be interested in that dog.
Yeah.
And you might want to finish it on out. So those pages are great websites, Facebook pages, to go and look for at the beginning of what you might want to do.
Yeah.
And at some point, you just got to get your feet wet and get in the game.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
You just got to get in
man.
there. It's just sort of like learning to turkey hunt. At some point, you just got to go by yourself and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So the next kind of question that I have is, there's so many, even with our ambassadors, even with all the trainers that we have, each one has their unique style. Yeah. And so I don't necessarily want to say like, hey, what works for you? But what is something that as an amateur coming into this, what is something that I would want to look for in a trainer in order to, kind of say, okay, this is how I want to train my dog?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say like a style. We have done years of training with variety, from bite dogs to all the police dogs to labs we've even gone to some other trainings with beagles and things.
Yeah.
We have a combination
of
styles that we have picked up from everybody else. But in that trainer, I like the patience.
Yep.
I like the patience. I
Yep.
don't want you to be in a cookie cutter. I don't want it to be cookie cutter.
Right.
I want patience and you to move at that level. And
And-
Bubba can go further.
You know, on a trainer, I go back to ACTA, a trainer that works hard and is honest. And sometimes the reality of field trials is not every dog is cut out to be at the level we
Yep.
want to be.
Yes.
And so you want to put it with a trainer that's going to be honest with you and not continue just to take your money if the dog's not going to cut it.
Yeah, we have Kevin Erdmeyer, who is one of our ambassadors. We were talking with him, and we kind of asked him the same question because, and I say all this to say, every trainer we talk to has a different style.
Yep.
And, some of them will say, well, this is how I do it. Like, I follow this regimen.
Right.
And it works for them, which is great. But I think oftentimes what people don't talk about is, someone who, if I'm wanting a duck dog, let's just say that, I want to know what the trainer is like, because when I get that dog home, I have a different personality than I do Bubba.
Yeah.
And so I want to know what I'm looking for in the trainer
And
so that I can match that when
a
the
lot
dog
of that
gets
is
home.
you need to go with the trainer and you
Trainer.
need to work with the trainer because
Yeah.
no matter what you do when you go home, you're not the trainer. And
Right.
they know
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, but Dad.
Yeah.
And you've got
Give
to-
you the soft
but
puppy eyes.
I've
and-
also got to say this. Just because a dog doesn't make it in the pro circuit doesn't mean the dog's not going to do it.
yeah.
We honestly heard Ellie won't make it.
Yeah.
We honestly heard that. But Ellie was what we had, and we
Right.
worked with what we had
Right.
because she was our first dog. Ellie was a Purina Dog of the Year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think, that goes back to just, you have to, once again, it's spending time with that dog, knowing how that dog is going to work. And,
Spending time with a dog and understanding dog behavior.
Yes.
Time spent if you don't understand dog behavior is not useful. So they need to really get good at understanding.
yeah,
dog
at that
behavior.
point, it's just playtime.
But back,
Yeah.
back to the yeah. And sometimes, and
And that's
we
okay.
learned that from Sheldon. Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Dogs need a break.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes,
One of
Oh,
the
yeah.
most valuable things we have is a 1 acre turnout.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
and that's just their playtime.
Yeah.
This is your time.
they
to
can
go
chase
play
pigeons or
and be
whatever out
goofy.
there.
Right.
You can chase the pigeons all you want, but when we're out here, it's time to work.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
were, when we went and saw Bill.
I was literally just about to say the same thing.
Somebody else does something similar.
They do the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing. They close their front gate and they turn all the dogs out.
Yeah.
And they've got, I think it's like 3 acres or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
We've
to
got
just
about an
go.
acre of a turnout
Yep.
pen.
Yeah.
And
That's
it is so valuable.
You know,
Number one, it keeps the dogs in shape. Like
Yeah.
we're not having to road them. You
Right.
can exercise them. They're staying muscular. They're twisting and they're
you know,
turning.
and
but it's just freedom.
Yeah.
It's that freedom. You get to be a dog and do silly stuff and do what you
But you
want
know-
to.
And you can see it with them
Yeah,
and how
you know.
their personality kind of comes out.
Movement does animals good, whether it's dog, person, or horse. You
Yeah.
know,
And
nobody
we-
wants to stay in a stall or kennel their whole life.
Right.
Right.
And we have some dogs that prefer to not be in their kennel in a barrel, but they want to go in. We have a big stainless steel, like a veterinarian crate.
Right.
They want to go in it at
Yeah.
night. Like, hey, I'm ready to go
Yeah.
in. I'm
Yeah.
ready to go in. I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Well, so it's
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's just like humans, where if we get pent up or we're doing the
Yes.
same thing day in day out, like
I gotta have
we
a
need a
break.
break. We need
We
a
had
break.
a break just a minute ago.
Yeah.
That's exactly. People
more-
don't know that
yeah.
at home, but we just took a good long break to
Yeah, we
you know.
took a potty break.
we train horses also.
Right.
And, the more you're into this, training horses, training dogs, and raising kids. It's a
It's
whole
all
lot.
sa-
It's a whole lot more
yeah.
similar than it is dissimilar.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
this is like a vacation for y'all. You all just snuck away for a few hours, and
Oh, well,
this is,
we'll get home in time.
Yeah.
We'll get
Yeah.
something done.
y'all
Yeah.
might as well be on the beach in Mexico.
No, that doesn't happen. 'Cause we can't. We can't. So our vacation together is North Dakota.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, oh, y'all are going up there and having fun. No, we're getting up early. We're working dogs.
Yep.
Then it's going back to do yard work. But we can't leave at the same time.
I know.
Seriously,
Yeah.
because you leave, something goes horribly wrong.
Well, and I think that's one thing I wanted to hit on too is, I've heard it from trainers, I've heard it from field trials, I've heard it from, breeders, whatever it may be. If you get into this, you have to understand the time commitment that
Yes.
comes
Yes.
with it.
It's just
It doesn't even matter.
never ending.
And I tell this story too because I have a buddy, Graham, who pitches in the major leagues, and he has a hunting dog named Hank. Well, when Graham is away, it lines up perfectly because his wife, Emily, gets to take the dog, but she's still working that dog every single day. She like will do like she's faking, hunting a duck or something. I think it's a Wii remote or something like that that she, throws up and
Launcher.
and just but when Graham gets back, it's on.
Yeah.
And then it's like a completely different dog at home, and it's so it's funny, but just people need to understand, there's a time commitment, and it's a
Huge
it's
time
a
commitment.
lifestyle change
And
because
plus, especially with dogs, you want that consistent day after day. And man, and
Everybody needs a routine, whether you're a dog, horse, or a human. You need
just
a routine.
a good routine. And I keep saying the same thing, and we're doing the same thing, and we just go back over the basics, the fundamentals again and again and again and again. And
yeah,
again
because
and
you
again.
can't expect the dog to learn it if you're not willing to put in the time
No,
yourself. I
no.
mean, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is nutrition, because we, obviously at Sportsman's Pride, we value nutrition and things like that, and we want to, hear from you guys how important nutrition is in the dogs.
Yeah. Well, especially in these dogs, I think they don't understand how far some of these dogs are running, and so you have to be. We call it the Alan Vincent bag.
We do.
Because it's got
He's
Alan
gonna
Vincent
love
on
to
it.
hear this.
Right.
That's our preferred.
It is.
Yeah.
That is yes. And it's not every dog is the same.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. We have fat dogs and skinny dogs.
Yeah.
And so,
And everyone is tailored different.
and even our feeding regimens are somewhat different on different dogs.
Yeah.
Yes.
On when we're going to run them, and some do better a little. And a lot of times when you have an athletic dog, they're going to be a very lean dog, and so.
And in today's society, people don't understand that. You
Right.
can't have a heavy dog and go out and do competitions with it, and it's actually very unhealthy for the dog.
And so.
Well, we were just kind of talking about it on the break, like my dog Oreo has to have certain requirements because, she's had her knee replaced twice.
Yeah.
And, you don't want a heavy dog running 6-7 miles.
Sometimes a couple pounds.
A couple pounds can make
Pounds
a huge
is a
difference.
huge difference.
And sometimes you might want them a little heavier and they not run as much, and they can take the cold weather a little better.
Right.
But a couple of pounds heavier and it's 65 and sunny,
Can't
they're
make
going to melt in the heat sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
It's a fine line, and so it's almost with each individual dog trying to find that sweet spot of the exact weight you want them to be
And
on.
we're constantly adjusting. And then we have multiple cups because we have all the way from the field cocker to the Chesapeake and the
so
yellow lab.
we got-
Right.
So we have cups, out there at our food. And I know this isn't Sportsman's Pride food, but we have free-ranging chickens.
Right.
And I love to throw an egg to the A team.
Yeah.
We have, we do have the A team, we have
Yep.
the B team, we have the,
We got
I
free
love
range.
to throw them an egg.
Yeah.
in the dog food. Yeah, we do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And we usually do. We call it the A team. You got to earn an egg at our place.
Oh.
We do the same thing with the egg
So
for
we
our dogs.
actually,
Yeah.
even with the Sportsman's Pride food, the Alan Vincent bag is the A team.
Yeah.
Then we use a different bag, which is one of the colored bags.
Right.
for the B team.
Right.
I mean, and we do change that depending on where you're at.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of goes back to the Alan Vincent bag, which is our limited ingredient food. It is meant for a performance dog. That's what we call it, performance food. And it is
A-team?
A-team, yeah. It's meant for that A-team. It's meant for the dogs who are out there running. They're, all of our food has glucosamine and chondroitin in it for their hips and joints and things. But, we like that. There's different levels. I'm not going to put my dog on a super high premium performance food if my dog's just sitting at home.
Yeah.
Doesn't need it.
It
But a
doesn't
lot of
need
people
it.
don't understand that.
Yeah,
They
that's
think
true.
one food is for every dog, and there's not. And as you know, there's hundreds of dog foods out there.
Oh, yeah.
And even we have one female that we have to. She has allergies.
Yep.
You were talking about Oreo having
Yep.
allergies, so we have to make sure she doesn't have that food.
Yep.
For sure.
Oreo is allergic to chicken, and
It's a chicken.
there's so many foods that just have chicken in them and stuff. So, I get that.
And y'all have the Evolve side of the things.
We do. Yeah, we have Sunshine Mills, which is the parent company of Sportsman's Pride. We make so many different foods. We, if you walk into a Publix and you are looking at the Publix pet food, sports or not sports and pride, Sunshine Mills makes that food. So there's such a variety out there.
So years ago, we had a grocery store when I was growing up, and we used to sell the dog food.
Yeah.
Years ago at our grocery store.
The Sunshine Mills one. What's funny is we have people come onto the podcast and they're like, years ago.
I can remember it.
I
remember it as a kid. The
yellow bag.
Yeah.
Yep.
We sold it in our grocery store.
It's so funny. Alan Bostic, who is the president of Sunshine Mills, but it's so funny. He calls Red Bay, Alabama, the dog food capital of the world, or the pet food capital of the world, because we just make so much. I mean, people don't understand, but one of the next things you kind of hit on earlier, and this is funny to me. I always joke that all of our ambassadors, they're these big tough guys like Alan Vincent and things like that. But we have so many ambassadors who they have all their working dogs out in the kennels, and
they have
the house dog.
They've got a house dog.
Alan had one for years.
Yeah.
I know.
What was that dog? Was it Eddie?
No, if you said it, I know it.
I don't know. It's just,
he had that dog that traveled everywhere with him.
Was it a little one?
Yes.
Yes.
It's always a little lap
It's
dog.
always a little lap dog.
Little 5 pound.
And he would always just let him run around. We'd be at the national.
It was a female. It
was a female.
I think it
There's
was.
Horses, trucks, dogs, and this dog's running everywhere. And it was the biggest beggar of a biscuit you ever saw. And he's like, saves me on dog food.
Yeah, of course, Alan.
And I think you guys, it's interesting because you guys are the first people that we've had on and the first people that we've talked to in this world who let their field trial dogs or their working dogs inside the house. Mm-hmm. So do you?
Well, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Not all.
Right, not
no,
all
we
of
couldn't
them.
do that.
Yeah.
Believe me, we have one. If he came in, he would be
But the ones
on the roof.
Yeah. We've had several of our
Honestly,
dogs
we
in the
call it
house.
couch time. A lot of times when they're pups, okay, so we have a small child, and
Right.
he's usually in the whelping box when they're born.
Right.
So he's constantly there. I'm in there every day. I have a regimen that I do every day with those puppies.
Yep.
When they're born, I have a process I go through. And as they get older, the ones that we know they're going to keep, they come in the house. They come in, we play with them, they have toys.
Mm-hmm.
And some just naturally make the house dog.
and
Ellie,
some don't.
and some don't.
Yeah.
And some just don't. But Ellie naturally was the house dog. Ava has always been the house dog. I have a picture on my computer. We got Ava and Colt were born about the same time. They're a few months apart.
Okay.
And I can remember the first day Ava came in and they were together. And Ava, to this day, she's going to be 9 years old, has never pottied in the house one time.
Wow.
So not one time has she ever.
Some dogs just sort of take to it.
And
Yeah.
honestly, she took over. She just, and we have, we've had a natural progression, but we call it couch time, and we bring them in and we spend time with them and we bond with them. And we let them ride in the back. Like Walt, the other day, he was riding in the back seat all the way to field trial with my son.
Right.
One thing money can't buy is time spent between you and your dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just learn stuff, even sometimes just having them
In the house.
in a non-training situation, just how they are, their personality, how they respond.
If you've got a little bit more of a bond, they're going to look for you.
Yeah.
They're going to look for you. Where's mom or dad at? Or where are they at? I need to check in.
So 2 points. One, Bubba, what you just said, we were just with Brad Donald in South Dakota, and we were standing on top of a hill, and we were watching all the, we were pheasant hunting, and we were watching all the dogs work, and it's beautiful to watch dogs work and see all this. But, he leaned over to me, and one of the things that he said that just rings so true is, it's a shame dogs don't live longer, because it's true. You get connected with a dog, and it's so difficult at times. But it's you kind of talk about they have to earn it, and they have to earn the time in the house. But those moments that they get are so sweet, and that's why it kind of lasts on you the longest.
I'm going to laugh because my son always says, Ava's the chosen child. And I'm like, she's got a championship. Do you?
Yeah.
But you talk about memorable dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably our most memorable dog was not even a bird dog.
Right.
But he came from a bird dog family.
Yeah.
And he was Whippoorwill Peep. He was a Belgian Malinois.
Yeah.
And he has been to more places, kicked out of more places. And he would never hurt a flea. He never showed aggression until our son was born.
Right.
And then he became the protector. I mean, he was always out there, that Mal just don't mess with
Yeah.
my kid,
Yep.
you know.
Well-
just, but he has been all over this country, from Florida to Oklahoma to North Dakota,
Yeah.
and he's been running with some of the most expensive bird dogs in the country.
You know, to circle back to what you said about getting into it, the one thing you cannot fake is you have to have a love of a bird dog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you truly love a bird dog, and it's really nice to have a love to riding a horse, just because we
Yeah.
do so much of
And you
it
can't
off a
fake
horse.
that
And those
comfortable.
are two things that you either you can sort of learn to ride a horse, but you can either love a bird dog, but it's hard to fake. And a lot
Yeah.
of people sort of get into the sport wanting to be the competition, and it's more about not you winning; it's more about the dog.
It's about the passion.
Yeah.
And so,
Truly, I think this is one of the few sports where, you know, some people try to get into certain things for money
Yes,
or whatever it may be.
We just had this discussion
Yes.
with somebody. Why do you do it? And
Yeah.
Bubba did a great kind of summed it up. You know, when you were a kid and you got in foot race and you
Yep.
won, how'd you feel?
Right.
I mean, we don't get money.
you don't get money
Yeah.
in the amateur stakes. I was trying to explain. He's like, "Well, why do you do it?" And I'm like, "Because we enjoy it."
Yeah.
And he just couldn't understand. We know we're not actually shooting any animals in the competition. In the amateur sport, we're not winning anything other than points in general.
Dog food.
Dog food.
That's it. Well, dog,
And that
well,
goes a long way.
and so, it's just the love of the sport and the love of the dog. It's just,
Yeah.
You have to have
absolutely.
it.
And there's so much of the progression, just like your own child. There's so much of the progression to see it come together for the dog, for the dog to develop into what it truly is.
Right.
And that is,
sometimes it's not just winning the field trial, it's the process of everything that got you to win the field trial.
Yeah.
It's just the accumulation
and
of it.
there's winning. But you've also got to understand there's a lot of heartache.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot
To
of
this
losing.
sport.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot to losing. There's trials you think you won that you're like, how did we not even get in there? I mean,
Right.
there's bad luck in the sport. We were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Ava was one of our best dogs, most consistent. She retired out of the all age due to an injury. Then she came back and we ran her in shooting dog. And we were number 3 dog in the country, and she shattered her leg with 14 screws and 2 plates.
Yep.
And then I ran her in the invitational. She came back and ran the invitational.
Yep.
And now, you know what she does? She sleeps with my son and she trains the puppies. And,
Yeah.
and we use her for backing drills.
Yeah.
She still has a role for us,
Mm-hmm.
and we still use her for that. But there's more heartaches in this than there are the highlights.
Yes,
It's
there,
humbling
it
for
is.
sure.
It's very humbling, and it's very.
You
It's,
gotta
it's
be
the
prepared to
reality
take
of
that.
reality of having animals, and it just
There's
bad,
a lot of crying.
bad
in my-
things.
yeah.
And there's
bad
a lot
things
of
happen to good animals.
Yes.
Yeah.
horses or dogs or you. I mean,
Yes.
we were at a trial this weekend. We had already left, but we had a horrible horse wreck. We've seen some horse wrecks that you just don't think someone can survive, and they do. And you're just like, one thing about our sport, we're not in an arena riding horses. We're
Yeah.
in areas with holes and
And
mud and
And we're usually not even looking where we're going. We're looking at the dogs.
Exactly.
And
Right.
so,
you know.
Exactly.
I think through all the guests and everywhere we've went to, I think I've never seen people like that love what they do so much, other than just the people who work with dogs. It's just
Yeah.
a connection.
It is.
And you
Has to
leave.
be.
I feel like every time we leave somewhere, I leave so inspired because it's just
Inspired,
like
selfless,
it's just like woof,
yeah.
like it's great to watch and great to witness. It.
And another factor, a lot of times, Bubba's like this year. Bubba's been running. I haven't. And somebody's like, "Why aren't you running a dog?" Well, mine broke her leg, and I just
Yeah.
Walt is Bubba's dog. A lot of times
Right.
we let the dog pick. Ava and Ellie, either one of us could run. Walt is a Bubba dog, and
Right.
we've had dogs. Ray was my dog.
Yeah.
We've just had that, but. At the same time, I'm scouting the dog. I'm also scouting where my son is.
Yeah.
Where are you on your horse?
Yeah.
And the great thing about our field trial community is because Colt has this is new. Leave me alone. I'm riding by myself. What? What? So
He almost
so
gets raised by a community
Yeah.
at the
it is,
same point.
honestly,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, we were at the national, and he started this that he wanted to ride by himself, and everybody's like, "Go on, Mom, we got him." And but you're still looking back because
Oh,
everybody's
yeah.
cantering to a find, and you're like, "Where are you?"
Right.
And they're like, "We got him, go." And
Yeah.
and they're all like, "We got him," but Go scout your dog. We got him. And then I
Yeah.
came back one time and they're like, "Well, we learned something." And I'm like, "What happened?"
It's funny that you talk about that. So when I was younger, I showed horses for a little bit when I was in high school and stuff like that. But my big sport growing up was BMX, but it was the cycling racing. And, you know, it's so funny when you get into a community, whether it be field trials or BMX or, you know, whatever it is, you get this community that forms around you.
Yes.
Some of the worst discipline that I've ever had wasn't from my parents. It was from other parents. And that hurts sometimes worse than it does, you know.
We always say, treat him like he's yours.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My mother gave permission to my high school teachers, do whatever you need to. Just keep them in line, whatever you need to. I got duct taped to a chair one time in high school because...
Oh, Lord, they'd have them in jail now.
Now they would. Yeah, absolutely.
But you learned, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
You know, while we're talking about some of the neat things about field trial, one of the things that we've got to do as a couple, as a family, is, you know, through bird dogs and field trials, we've seen some of the greatest places and grounds from North Dakota, ranches in Oklahoma to the plantations in Georgia. We've been a little bit of everywhere and have seen some really neat
and
country.
also every year, like North Dakota, we go. I could tell you some of the best museums in North Dakota.
And so,
because we take a day and we do it. You know, we might go work dogs in the morning, but then let's go somewhere and do this or.
So we've traveled the country with dogs and horses.
Yeah,
and that has really been a blessing.
Well, that's one of the things that, you know, this position has provided me an opportunity is, you know, we just went and saw Brad in South Dakota, and he just got a brand new lodge. He had been working for another lodge for Caleb, I think it was like 20-something years or something like that. And he's branching out on his own, got his own lodge. And it is the most gorgeous view of the bluffs and the Missouri River. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And, you know, being in this sport, you know, a lot of other sports, you're going to cities, you're going to see something.
Right. Something man-made.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're going out and you're seeing just this beautiful country in this land. I mean, I've never seen some of the colors of, you know, grass that I've seen except out in South Dakota. And it's really neat. You get to travel a lot, but it's selfless because it's not you win as the dog's owner, but the dog is the one winning. And so it's absolutely incredible, you know, like what you
We've
talked
also got to say thanks to a bunch of babysitters all the way from North Dakota
Yeah.
to like the first year we went, my mom went with us. Colt went his first trip 4 months old to North Dakota.
Yeah.
And my mom was with us to help us, but my dad had a heart attack, so she'd fly home.
Oh, wow.
So the landowners up there stepped up a lot of times and like, just drop him off at the house while you're on us working.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's become a tradition in North Dakota. We see them every, you know, you always see them, but, you know, they love seeing Colt grow.
Yeah.
And, you know, and where else can what was he, 2? And he got his first.
Yeah, I mean, field trialing with
entry at a bar.
Field trialing with bird dogs is just it's an adventure.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Colt was bar fighting at 2 years
Yeah,
old.
2 years. He got a scar to this day.
Yeah, I got a scar on his eye at a bar
Yeah.
in North Dakota. But, you know, what people don't realize is, I think, oh, my God, you had your baby in a bar in North Dakota. No, that's where the Farm Bureau has their meetings. The kids have the birthday parties.
It's a different world.
Different. There's the bar in the front and the restaurant in the back.
Yeah.
And our landowner owns the bar, so we're there quite a bit.
It's a completely different world. I mean, especially with us, we live in the South, and so, you know, things that you would never think of. You know, I was talking with Brad in South Dakota, and I was like, you know, what do you guys do? He's like, you know, Sundays we'll go to church. After that, we'll go to the bar. But that's where everyone meets for a meal, and you know, it's completely different.
Yes.
Okay, so final question that I want to ask you guys, because, you know, we've kind of hinted at, you know, what it's like to get into field trials, but what would be like your number one tip for someone who wants to run their dog for the first time? What wisdom would you have for them?
Be honest with yourself.
Yes, don't be. You know, we call it kennel blindness.
Kennel blindness.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to be honest, and you need to be able to look at your dog objectively. You need to be able to look at how your dog did at a field trial objectively.
And you need to be able to look at yourself objectively.
And sort of see what your shortcomings was, see what the dog, see where you messed up. And, you know, I think if you do that, that's probably
And we have a lot of discussions on the way home. We have discussions to the trials, but we have a lot of discussions on the way home. This could have been, and sometimes they're not pleasant discussions.
Right.
As a husband-wife team, there's a lot of not pleasant.
Well, you should have put them on the other line. Or,
what'd you do that for?
Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
But,
There's a lot of decisions to be made, and
but it's honest criticism, and sometimes we've been like,
yeah,
Yep.
well, I should have done that different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, that's one thing that I've noticed about this sport too is when we went and saw Alan at the National Field Trial, they have, I don't want to call it a bunkhouse, but they have like a hall where, all the riders and stuff will sit while they're waiting for the field trials to go right before lunch and stuff. And they're just, from the outside looking in, it's just like they're critiquing each other and, left and right, but they're just sharing ways to improve. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed about this sport is, people are so willing to accept feedback from others.
Just constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism,
and
that's right.
advice.
Yeah.
Do you know
Advice,
how many times? Do you know how many times we've picked up the phone and called one of the pros or call someone else, another amateur, and say,
Oh yeah,
"Man, what do I do here?"
Matt Pendergrass and I have a daily conversation about this dog, that dog, this dog,
and he's another amateur.
Yeah.
just and trying to come up with, well, this is what I would do, or
And
this.
I have
Have you
called-
tried this?
And I remember we had a problem with Ellie one
Yeah.
year, and I called a pro, and I'm like, "What do we need to do?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is what you need to do."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
And what's funny is like in this sport, people give that away so freely.
they do.
Yes, yes.
So
They do.
freely.
Yeah.
I
You
think
know.
a lot of places like, a lot of people would be like, well, if you're going to come learn from me,
You're gonna,
you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
so I'm gonna circle back to something you said on what somebody needs to do. They need to go to Farrell Miller Puppy Days.
yes.
If he has
So where's that at?
it's in
Kentucky.
Murray, Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a day-long event at Farrell Miller's farm and outside of Murray, Kentucky. And
And
Farrell,
it again, there's field trial bird dogs.
Yeah.
There's the AFTCA website. There's Region 6. I'm missing one. Field trialers or some of the Facebook pages.
Yeah.
You can search them. And that kind of stuff is on there. And Puppy Days and Farrell Miller is one of the legendary trainers of all time.
90 years old and still going today,
Wow.
strong as anyone.
The trial that we were judging not too long ago, he drove himself, saddled his horse, first one on the horse, and rode the 3 hours and rode crossing some ditches we were not comfortable going across, and he was riding. And
So,
he was there watching.
That would be
Unbelievable.
good for anyone. That's where so many of from Ike Todd to Will Dunn or Farrell and Jack and Fran Miller.
Miller.
There's just so many have been up there to Farrell Miller's. That would be a good place for a young person to go.
That's incredible. Yeah. That 90 years old.
90 years
I
old.
hope
And will
I can do
shake
that.
your hand, and you're like, ow, ow, ow.
Yeah.
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 He wins the handshake contest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, Amy and Bubba, thank you so much for joining us today.
Enjoyed it.
I mean,
Thank
this
you.
has been truly insightful. I have been so interested in kind of the behind the scenes, and I'm not saying I'm getting into field trialing because there's no way my dog could do it ever. But this has been such an insightful conversation, and I truly hope that what people get from this is, this community is so welcoming, and there's you can get into it. Just be ready to put in some work as well. And, I think you guys have shed awesome light into, not only Region 6, but the field trial community as a whole. And, I want to thank you guys for coming on. It's been awesome.
Thank
fun.
y'all. We had it's a blast.
We talked a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do this for like another,
Oh, yeah.
another 2
Oh, yeah.
hours
I'm just getting
easily.
started here.
I got to get on a Zoom.
Yeah, Amy's like, I gotta be on a call. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to the Fieldmaster podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at sportsmans_pride. And if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, be sure that you go on over to somewhere like Apple or Spotify, and you can listen to it there on the road. Or if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can also go to our YouTube page where you get to see lovely faces like Amy and Bubba. So thank you guys so much for listening, and be sure to follow along for the next episode.